When you hear the word Linux, you might picture hackers in a dark room, or maybe some super nerdy computer stuff, right? But what if I told you that you're probably using it right now and you don't even know it? Well, today, we're going to demystify Linux, the hidden engine that seriously powers so much of our world.
And I'm not kidding. If you've got an Android phone in your pocket, yep, you're using Linux. That big smart TV on your wall, there's a really good chance it's running Linux. Your home router, your DVR, even some incredibly cool toys like this animatronic dinosaur, they all have Linux right at their core. It is literally everywhere.
So, okay, that brings up a pretty obvious question, doesn't it? What exactly is this thing if it's in our phones and our TVs and pretty much everything in between?
At its heart, Linux is an operating system, like Windows or Mac OS. But here's the massive difference. It is completely free and it's open source. That means anyone can use it, anyone can look at the code, and anyone can change it. And that incredible flexibility, that's the secret sauce for why it's become the foundation for so many different things.
And of course, any great project has to have a mascot, right? Well, meet Tux the Penguin. You'll see this little guy all over the Linux world. He's kind of the friendly face for some seriously powerful software. All right, so let's start peeling back the layers of this onion, shall we? First up, we're going to look at the incredible world of choice that you, the user, get to have.
See, unlike Windows, where you basically just get, Windows, Linux isn't just one single thing. It actually comes in hundreds of different versions. They're called distributions, or distros for short. The best way to think of them is like different flavors, each one packaged up with its own unique set of tools and its own philosophy.
And this just shows you there is a distro for pretty much everyone. Ubuntu, for example, is famous for being super user-friendly, so it's a great place for beginners to start. Then you have Debian, which Ubuntu is actually based on. It's all about rock-solid stability, which is why it's a huge favorite for servers. Fedora is for people who want the latest cutting-edge tech, so, developers love it. And then you get these really specialized ones like Kali Linux, which is just packed with tools for cybersecurity pros.
But the customization doesn't even stop there. So if the distro is like the engine and all the core parts of the car, you can also completely change the dashboard, the seats, the paint job, the whole look and feel. We call that the desktop environment.
And this is a perfect example. On the left, you've got GNOME, which is really modern and clean. On the right, that's KDE, which is incredibly powerful and might feel a little more familiar if you're coming from Windows. And these are just two of dozens of choices. You can make your computer look exactly the way you want it to.
Now, I know what you're thinking. All this choice. It sounds a little overwhelming, right? But here's the secret. Underneath all that variety, the foundation is the same. The basic commands, the way the files are organized, it's all remarkably consistent. So the skills you learn on one distro, they almost always carry over to any other one.
Okay, so we've seen all the pretty desktops. Let's peel back another layer and pop the hood to see what's really driving this thing. The command line.
And I can already hear you thinking it. We just saw all those beautiful, colorful interfaces. Why in the world would anyone trade that for a black screen with just text?
Well, the answer is one word: power. The command line gives you total, precise control. When you type a command, you know exactly what the computer is going to do. There's no guesswork. This makes it perfect for scripting and automation, doing repetitive tasks. You could resize 1,000 photos with just a single line of text. And since it barely changes over the years, it's a super stable and reliable way to manage a system. And it's really not as scary as it looks. I mean, check this out. PWD just means print working directory. It tells you what folder you're in. LS just lists the files in that folder. And CD lets you change directory. With just these three simple ideas, you can already start navigating your entire computer.
And this whole idea of a simple logical structure, it doesn't just stop at the commands. The way the files themselves are organized is also incredibly clear and consistent across all of Linux.
Think of the whole thing like a tree. Everything starts at a single point called root, which is just a /. From there, everything branches out. There's a branch called /bin, where the essential commands live. There's a branch called /etc for all the system settings. And then there's /home, and that's where all your personal stuff goes. It's so logical, a place for everything and everything in its place.
And that predictable structure is one of Linux's superpowers. It's a huge reason why Linux is the backbone of the internet, running the vast majority of servers all around the world. It's just that reliable.
All right, we've seen the user interface. We've peeked under the hood at the command line. We've explored the file system. Now, it's time to get to the very heart of it all, the absolute core of the onion.
And believe it or not, it all started right here. In 1991, a student in Finland named Linus Torvalds posted this message online. He said he was just working on a hobby, something that won't be big and professional. Little did he know, his hobby was about to become one of the most important software projects in human history.
And that hobby project? It was the Linux kernel. The kernel is the absolute core, the nucleus of the operating system. Think of it as the master translator, the bridge that lets your software, like a web browser, talk to your physical hardware, like the processor, the memory, and the screen.
You can see it perfectly here. The kernel sits right in the middle of everything. It manages the CPU, it manages the memory, it talks to all your devices, and it allows your apps to actually do things. It's the traffic cop, the conductor of the orchestra. Without the kernel, nothing works. It's that simple.
So, we've gone all the way from the shiny desktop down to the absolute core of the system. Let's zoom back out and talk about the big picture. Why does any of this actually matter? It all comes down to the philosophy behind Linux. Because it's free, anyone can use it. Because it's open source, a massive global community, we're talking millions of people, can check the code, find problems, and fix them. This leads to incredible security and innovation. It's why Linux is so stable, so reliable, and so customizable that it can run everything from a tiny robot to literally all of the world's 500 fastest supercomputers. And this brings us to one final, really fascinating thought. So much of our modern world, from our smartphones to the cloud, was built on top of this open, collaborative foundation. So the real question is, what's next? What new world-changing technology is being built right now on top of Linux?